All right. So the other position that I was talking about that there seems to be a battle on is the second base position, which heading in here, you had Triolo, you had Liover Peguero, you had Nick Gonzales, and then Ji-hwan Bae. That's pretty much like the four guys battling it out who all had time last year at this position. And like a lot of uncertainty, I mean, there's certainly some hype on some prospects, something you want to get going there. I think it was clear Jared Triolo played the best out of all of them last year. Kind of limited, but he had a really, really strong ending of this season. But he's the babe of God. Not a lot of people believe in him. The babe of God, right? And he's doing it again this year. How can it happen? Having a strong spring. Peguero, I think, is the guy that you want to see. I think we kind of believe in his talents, right? He has that power, speed combo. He's also having a good spring. Even like Nick Gonzales. Now he doesn't walk at all. But again, it's like 19 at bats or plate appearances he had, but he's hitting the ball pretty hard. 3 doubles, solid enough spring. And then there is Ji-hwan Bae. It's whatever. There's one guy that's not. It's probably Ji-hwan Bae, but there's a battle going on for second base, and so far it's been a pretty productive battle. What do you guys think?
Jim, you made me go first.
Yeah. Gosh, I love Jared Triolo in that just like super utility role. Like, I'm not saying like he needs to be a bench guy, but like Jared Triolo probably needs to be starting 4 times a week, but like bounce him around, use him to get off days for people, things like that. So right now I'm still leaning like Liover Peguero is like your main second baseman, but Triolo is getting a lot of playing time. And I'm not comparing Jared Triolo to like Josh Harrison, but like remember like Josh Harrison's heyday, right? Like he played almost every day. He just didn't really have a position really to call his own. So that's where I think Triolo would thrive in. Like play him 1 day a week at first base, play him 1 day a week at second, play him 1 day a week at short. Like he's shown he can play some shortstop too. I wouldn't mind seeing that. And then, give Brian Hayes a day off at third base every now and then. So like move him around the diamond, and that he's going to play competent defense. He's going to give you somewhat decent major league at bats. And you're going to be able to get the guy 350 to 400 plate appearances just by doing that. But you'll also still be able to get in, everyone else. So I think that's where I'm at right now with second base. I think Nick Gonzales is still on the outside looking in. I think a lot has to happen for him to make this team out of spring training. Ji-hwan Bae, I think, still has a decent shot at making the team, but more is like that fourth outfielder. But yeah, right now, second base battle, I'm going Peguero as your main guy, but Triolo's getting a good amount of time there.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this because previously I've said that I want Liover Peguero to be the guy, and I in agreement with Jim that I wanted to see Triolo be one of those guys that bounces around and you get to see the defense on full display at multiple positions. But I find myself questioning whether I just fall in love with the upside of Peguero. And I'm ignoring the fact that Triolo could probably be like a 2 to 3 win player as an everyday second baseman by just playing great to elite defense, which I think, at least I assume that he would do. And I know it's the BABIP gods really just shining down on him. But his minor league track record shows he finds a way to hit. If he plays defense at the level that I think we all see he can at second base, we're talking about a 2 to 3 win player, and it's not flashy. But is that better than the potential upside of a Peguero, who maybe we're just hoping for a 2 to 3 win player? Like, is Triolo already what we hope Peguero could be, just value-wise? So I might be leaning more Triolo at this point and just let him get the run every day. And I do worry that he will get overexposed at the plate, kind of like we saw Connor Joe do last year, where at some point you just play him so much that it's kind of like a diminishing returns type of deal with him. But that defense is so good. And the other part of it is that I want to surround O'Neal Cruz with guys beside him that are really good defensively. And when you have Brian Hayes on one side and you have Triolo on the other, you can hide O'Neal Cruz at shortstop a little bit better, I think. The first base situation still needs to be figured out defensively, but I think having those two guys there will benefit O'Neal Cruz at shortstop, and maybe you can get away a little longer with him there than you could if it's a guy that's a little more shaky.
I think that last point's fair. However, are we maybe taking away more from Peguero's glove than we should? Like, I know the arm was the issue with him more or less defensively, but I think he's kind of proven he's got a glove. And it's not as if like you're putting like a bad defender next to O'Neal Cruz on his left side, at second base with Peguero there. So, like, I get your point. I mean, if you have Brian Hayes and Jared Triolo on each side of you, I don't think there's a better second and third base defensively in baseball, like for O'Neal Cruz, looking in that sense. Like, he's got the best guys defensively, right? But I kind of like Peguero's glove, and he's flashed it a little bit this spring. And I guess that's where I'm at, too, is I think what's happening right now in spring is the most ideal situation the Pirates could be in, because I want Jared Triolo to be that utility guy. And I get what you're saying, Tyler. And I think he probably could be like a 2. It's the same argument that you have with Cabrian. Just the glove alone, he's a 3-war player. And I think with Jared Triolo, like just his glove alone, he's probably a 2-war player at second base also. But if you're able to replace shortstop one day a week, which you probably want to manage O'Neal a little bit this year, right? With the Jared Triolo outside of an Alika Williams.
Or you move Peguero to short and Triolo play second. Like, that's also a possibility.
I think I would rather have Triolo at short.
So I think at that point, I would just move Triolo to short and then play Peguero at second on those days that you want to give O'Neal Cruz a day off. And then I think you can still bounce Triolo around a little bit too, while giving Peguero his at-bats.
Okay,
but it's
so you
just
kind of
the
want
primary second base spot is going to be Triolo. And then on days off, you can move him around a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm more in line with Jim. I would much rather him have 4 starts a week. Second base, shortstop, even third, first. It doesn't look like it's happening. I would love for him eventually to get into the outfield here and there. It's not going to happen, but whatever. Just add more value. Like you're saying with J. Hay. And again, like we're not comparing talent-wise. It's just the value-wise, what they do with Triolo. I would love him to have that J. Hay role. He's playing all over the place because his defense is so good. But I guess what I'm getting at is like this is the most ideal because Peguero is performing. If he wasn't, then it's Jared Triolo's right now locking up second. And now you're wondering. But because Peguero so far, still early, but so far is showing why he was a better prospect, right? And the talent that we've talked about him for some years is so far showing that he's producing right now. And I think if Triolo and Peguero are producing neck and neck, I would much rather have Peguero as my starting second and Triolo the guy that's going all over. And first base also. I wouldn't mind him playing first base, second, third, short.
Yeah, I think an encouraging thing about Peguero too so far, you saw him struggle, making contact last year after coming up. And again, it's spring training, but he hasn't struck out yet this spring. And it's only 16 plate appearances, but when you have a 31.5 strikeout rate last year in the majors, and now you've played 7 spring training games and you haven't struck out yet, that's encouraging to see. So yeah, you're seeing everything that you want to see out of Peguero. You're seeing everything you want to see out of Triolo. I agree. This is a good position to be in. It's better to have this be a tough conversation, I think, right now, than it to be an easy one. Because if it were an easy one, it means that there's really only one choice, and they have 2 choices. And again, I think the upside of Peguero is definitely more enticing than the upside of Triolo. Triolo's floor definitely higher than Peguero, right? Like Peguero certainly capable of putting up like a 0-win season if he puts up a dud. Whereas if Triolo doesn't hit, the defense is still going to give you some value. But yeah, right now I would prefer Triolo kind of bounce around, but you still play him like 4 times a week. Like get the guy some at bats. He needs to be in the lineup. He's valuable to you in multiple ways. That's where I'm at with this.
At the end of the day, I think it's a battle that's going to shake out through the season. I think by the end of the year, they're both probably going to end up with close to an equal amount of at-bats. They're going to both play a lot, especially with the new age of baseball with the days off. And Triolo's a perfect guy for that, where he can bounce around. So they're both going to end up with 350, 400 at-bats this year. So really, we're probably talking about this for nothing because they're going to both end up playing a lot of second base.
Well, let me just add this. You say we're talking about this for nothing, but I think the one reason we are talking about it is, again, it's early, but neither is struggling. It would be a different conversation, again, like if Peguero or Triolo was just having an awful spring to date. Both are performing. So, like, our big concern this year was second base. What's going to happen with it? And so far, this battle has been looking pretty good.
At the very least, I will say I feel a lot better about second base this year rather than last year when it was Castro and Bae. I know you love your Castro, but
I'll
Jim, I
say
think your mic
this.
went out.
Oh, yeah. Can't hear Jim. Well, at any rate, I'll
Poor Jim.
say, yeah, I like the potential of Castro. It's actually kind of similar to Peguero, like the power
little
speed
bit.
combination. I think Castro's kind of came out of nowhere, and we saw what he could do. Where Peguero's kind of had this, he's proven a little bit more throughout the minors, at least. But I'll say, like, it was just Castro. It was like the potential of Castro, like that was it. I don't think I was like a firm believer in Bae. This year, I feel like there's better depth. There's more options. But yeah, I was definitely in on Castro.
It is similar to Peguero where you start to fall in love with that upside they potentially have.
Talent, baby.
But with Triolo, I feel like we get into this trap where we fall in love with the potential and we just overlook what's there. And I think Triolo's already there. And it's probably silly because he's going to get 4 starts a week no matter what, I think. But I do wonder what would happen if he just got reps every day at second base. How good could he be defensively? And I do feel like he will hit at least close to a major league average level.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you look at like Zip's projections right now for Jared Triolo, they've got him at 110 games played, 470 plate appearances. He's an 83 weighted runs created plus on these projections, and he's still a 1.3 WAR player because of the defense, right? So yeah, if you can be a league average hitter, then that 1.3 ends up being 2.5, right?
Right.
And I think it just comes down to if you can get 2.5 out of Jared Triolo just bouncing him around, but then you can also get 2 out of Peguero as a starting second baseman, do that.
Also, value-wise, Triolo is going to get dinged because he's going to have to play a good bit of first base. And that defensive war just hates first baseman. And he's going to have to play a decent bit late in games.
But
that's true. Like, yeah, the games he doesn't start, or maybe late in games, yeah, you move Triolo to first, and he's your first baseman for the last 2 innings.
And again, like this is where I'm at with that. And I get your point in that sense, but like, would you rather Jared Triolo there or Rowdy Tellez? Do you rather have Jared Triolo at short or Lika Williams? Would you rather, like, that's the thing. Like, what doing this does is it limits the really bad players from achieving 200 plus plate appearances, right? So you have Jared Triolo taking away the Alikas and the Rowdies, or like even the Connor Joes to an extent, right? Where he's playing first baseman more than you want to see or whatnot. Like that, again, like that's kind of where I'm at with this. Peguero being at second, and like he can just focus on second base and hopefully become the better player for all the same reasons about Jared Triolo. Like the same mindset for Peguero. Sears, you got second base, it's yours. Be the best person you can be. And now Jared Triolo is running around. He might get dinged, like you're saying in that sense, but it's still a better option than Lika Williams, right? Or Rowdy Tellez late in the game, defensively at first base or whatnot. So like that's where I'm at. Jared Triolo is such a team player that he's going to sacrifice his overall WAR for the better of the team. Such a good guy. That's why the baby gods love him. He's just
Exactly.
such a good guy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'll take it. I think both are going to play a big role. And you're seeing what you want to see out of both guys. And
It's a
there's
very
options
optimistic show,
too.
guys.
Well, and there are options too if one of them goes down. Like I don't think Nick Gonzales is. You give him a ton of playing time and it's going to go well, but who knows? Maybe Nick Gonzales for a short spurt at some point in June or July can give you 100 decent plate appearances here and there.